Hi everyone, happy holidays. All right, let's get started. It's Lay's Saturday Night Live. I always try to make my Saturday night's program entertaining. I know I don't always succeed, but tonight I think I have a better chance to make you laugh. I must tell you that I didn't coin the term menstruation police for that purpose. It was a term given by Romanians when they lived under Nicolae Ceausescu, when the communist dictator tried to increase Romania's population. In China's current population crisis, menstruation police has returned to the Middle Kingdom. So today we'll first discuss what menstruation police is, and then we'll talk about what do the birth promo officers do. And then I'll discuss the seriousness of China's population crisis and why I believe China's population is no more than 800 million. All right, before I continue, I just want to make sure that I sound okay. You guys can hear me okay? Yeah? Loud and clear? Yes? Okay. All right. Yeah, Chris is not here tonight. I think I have another helper helping me. Will, he is here. Okay, yes. All right. Sound great. Loud and clear. Perfect. Okay, good. Let's get started. It's fun. Now let's talk about what menstruation police is. So decades ago, Romanian communist dictator Nicolae Ceausescu issued a decree. It's called Decree 770, which subjected Romanian women to strict monitoring and monthly gynecology gynecological examinations to ensure they were not using contraceptives, women who were found to be using birth control, or doctors who permitted abortions were severely punished. During Ceausescu's era, Romania's economy stagnated and population was in decline. So to increase the population and to strengthen national power, Ceausescu declared that bearing children was a noble and outstanding duty and an expression of patriotism. Every woman under the age of 45 was expected to give birth to at least 5 children. Women who gave more birth were publicly honored by the state. Conversely, the Romanian authorities declare that those who don't bear children are quote unquote traitors to the country. Punishments were imposed on single women over 25 because they're supposed to be married before 25, and married couples who didn't have children. Eventually, this escalated into a policy where all childless individuals were forced to pay a special tax called social upbringing fee, which was deducted from their wages every month. Along this, the government implemented policies banning abortion, contraception, and divorce. Enforcement agents were stationed in offices, factories, schools, and rural areas to strictly monitor women, making sure that they underwent monthly examinations to confirm that they were not using contraceptives. The individuals who enforced these government policies were called menstruation police or menstrual police. I was corrected by my editor saying that you can't call them menstrual police because it sounds like the police were menstruating. So I think the correct term is menstruation police. And now China is in a much worse population crisis, and menstruation police has returned. So on October 28th, China's State Council issued a notice titled Measures on Accelerating the Improvement of the Childbearing Support Policy System and Promoting the Construction of a Fertility-Friendly Society. So as you can see, the CCP is trying to push China into a fertility-friendly country. At the same time, Chinese scholars and experts published articles calling to boycott anti-marriage and anti-childbearing rhetoric. They argue that such rhetoric has become rampant on social media and will harm the country over the long term. So from this, you can tell the Chinese government has panicked over the low population. They turned the formerly birth control offices into birth promotion offices. In Chinese, they used to be called 计生办, 计划生育办公室, into now 催生办, 催促生育办公室. So the officials went from forcing women to have abortions to now forcing people to have children. Newlyweds around the country have reported getting calls from local officials inquiring about their plan, their family planning status, and if the wife is pregnant. Women, married or single, are getting calls from these officials about their family planning status. The officials who monitor women's pregnancy or home planning status are given a new title called female follow-up officers. So people were shocked to see a screenshot of a Weibo post, of a social media post that reads, "Hello everyone, I am the female follow-up officer in your community. Please send the date of your last menstrual period to me via private messages." So with that, the menstruation police have returned. The big brother showing concern for women's menstrual cycles indicates that China's population crisis is extremely serious. So how serious is it? Well, let me play you a video clip for you to understand. Before I play the video, I want to explain. In urban area, the female follow-up officers may not be as rude as their colleagues in rural China. In the rural areas, local officials treat having children as a mechanical operation. They put a man and a woman together and they ask them to produce children. And there are also officials who work on men, not just women, although women are the primary targets for these officials. But they also work on men, and not just married men, single men as well. So in the next video clip that I will play, I will show you how two birth promo officers visiting a single man. The two birth promo officers, one is a man and one is a woman. The woman didn't talk. The woman didn't say anything. The male officer, did the talking. And he demanded the single man to have 5 children. With a woman, they brought him. The video is so incredible that I don't even know whether I should laugh or cry. I tell you, I cry. I mean, I laughed. I laughed today. So you won't see that type of discussion anywhere in the world. It only happens in China. The way the official talked to the young man is unbelievable. But it's everyday reality in China. So let me play the video. It's 3 minutes, 20 seconds long. It's quite intense, but Chris did a wonderful job doing the subtitles. I translated the subtitles. He copied them into the video. The video doesn't have high resolution. I think it was taken from a surveillance camera, but the conversation was wild. So here we go. Hopefully it will put a smile on your face. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let me start from the beginning.
你就是何勋是不是？
啊，是的。
就是在楚楚大道卖车那个是不是？
啊，
那就对的。我们连续找你几天找不到，故意躲我们是不是？晓不晓得我是哪个？
不晓得。
没得关系，过到今天就晓得了。催生慢，懂不懂？就是以前的计划生育。
哦。
啊？你今年好多岁了
33岁，那你那婚呀？
我搞那套。33岁为什么还不结婚？
不想结，一个人好舒服啊。
一个人好舒服。
啊。
结不结婚我不管。 我今天找你不管你结婚的事，但是你一定要生小孩。你在外头为什么你没得女朋友，在外头多找几个女朋友生几个行不行？啊，如果是硬性指标，
那我可结扎了，生不出来。
莫脱缰啊，脱都没得好果子吃。我跟你说，你33岁还不开始生小孩，你是不是在犯罪？你晓得不？你就是千古罪人，你晓得不？现在幼儿园找不到学生，小学没得学生，街上没得人，你就是罪人，你晓得不？啊，如果你是一直不生小孩的话，结果我跟你说，你爸爸、你妈妈他们读书读不到，我跟你讲，那会取消你们的资格，你晓得不？那会是上系统的、上征信的，你晓得不？
那现在的行情，外头的的士车都是无人驾驶，工厂头全是机器人，想弄到玩儿，他到时候那么火啊！你给我讲，你来讲。
那我不管，我只是执行政策。你那个生下来的这个回去种包谷不行啊？啊，排放把多的是土，你就种包谷种洋芋饿死了啊？
那不生，
不生不得行，强制生，结扎的，听说你？
我是结扎了，
结扎的啊！
我就是才都跟你讲的啦，我结扎的啦。
结扎的，明天强制人拖到医院去结，结了之后必须马上给我生。哎，你如果是不听话，炉子、沙发、冰箱，明天就是房子全部帮你拆了，我跟你讲，那不是开玩笑的事，我跟你说。
结了都没用，不爱生不生，
生不出来是不是？
不生了
啊？生不出来还是不生？
不生，
不生。我跟你说，来。专门帮人家生小孩，他2个没得屋的生，生了之后他帮你审核过，然后帮你完成治疗啊。这个钱从生下来一直到大学，这个钱你来出，
没钱，
没得钱，没得钱，你卖车你找不到钱，你卖车的你没得钱，啊？
那不是，
你听说你在卖比亚迪，你想卖比亚迪就赚不到钱。
啊，一台车赚了500、1000的，你哪么赚钱？
那你白天卖车，你晚上你开个比亚迪海豹06去跑滴滴噻，他们一天都可以赚几百块钱，你赚不到。那比亚迪海豹06才9万多块钱，啊，1公里乘2毛多钱，这个都赚到钱，你赚不到钱。莫给我讲多了啊，就那么个，明天你2个抢活动，我们做证，你帮他审5个完成治疗，这5个希望的钱你必须出。就那么个，明天不抢活动，明天房子帮你拆了。啊，不是不服气是不是？不服气也得钱，我跟你讲，哎，明天我们就不是我们那种好说话的人来，我跟你讲，明天再不听话，蠢逼才会就来了，我跟你讲，哎，走前头。
All right. I don't know how you feel, but this is unbelievable. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. That's why I said you won't see this type of conversation happening anywhere in the world. It only happens in China. That's what I said. I don't even know if I should laugh or cry at the end, but I was laughing crazy. Not only his mannerism is so CCP, the way he approached the subject matter is none other, is so CCP. And this is not just one bad official going overboard with his work. I mean, I think they're doing exactly the same thing. They're doing exactly the same thing as they did 20 years ago when they forced women to have abortions. I mean, if you really think about all the problems, this video exposed, if you really think about what this guy is proposing to the young man, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I just can't, I mean, I don't even know what this woman's job is. I mean, he said her job is to produce children. I don't know. I don't understand what that means. It sounds like she's married. I mean, that just opens another can of worms that I can't discuss right now. But anyways, did you notice the official said, he did say, now kindergartens have no kids to recruit. Elementary schools are running out of students and the streets are empty. That is the dire reality of China's population crisis. And I have seen the Chinese commenting on the fact that they don't see many children in the streets anymore. And what people mostly see adults in the streets. They don't see as many children or young children in the streets. So that brings us to the second topic for today. So I discussed China's population being no more than 800 million in my October 8th live stream. And I released a shorter edited version last week, and it received quite some attention. Some people find it hard to believe that China's population is actually 37 to 50, or can be 37 to 50%, or 500 to 700 million less than the stated 1.4 billion. They challenge my methodology by arguing that, one, we can't trust ChatGPT for calculating population, and two, my model or my method didn't factor in mortality rate. So let me address their concerns. First things first, about the accuracy of ChatGPT. Well, I know ChatGPT does make mistakes when doing statistical or mathematical calculations, and I agree that my method is very high level. You can almost say it's a very crude approach to population analysis. However, the point of my analysis is that it's a comparative study. I apply the same approach to both India and China. If the method is wrong, it would be wrong for both countries. The fact that it generated India's population within 4% of margin of error indicates that the method isn't far off. And China's population is off by 37%. And it isn't because of the method. Rather, it's because the Chinese official population was consistently wrong, or has been consistently wrong. Calculating China's total population wasn't the focus of my exercise. Studying the variance in population growth between China and India, as well as the variances between the official data and the calculated data, is the objective of my study. So if someone tells me AI accidentally calculated India's population correctly and China's population incorrectly, then that person is actually saying that ChatGPT is completely garbage. But I don't think that's the case. Now, about the second concern, that is not factoring mortality rate for the two countries. Well, if I included mortality rates in the study, Chinese population would be even smaller. Mortality rates are not going to help explain China's population gap. If anything, China has a much higher mortality rate than India because China experienced the SARS epidemic in 2003 and COVID, which has lasted until now. The government has covered up the real casualties. If anything, China has had much higher unnatural deaths, total cases of unnatural death in the past 30 years than India. So if we do factor in mortality rates, it's not going to help explain the variance. So and if you look at the expected life expectancy, India has increased the life expectancies by 3 more years than China. I think the gap between China and India in terms of average life expectancy, the gap was 10 in 1990, and it is 7 years apart now. So I don't think it's so for simplicity of the calculation, I just make that not an issue here. So now, to prove my point, to say that China's population is no more than 800 million, I want to share some statistics with you. China reported 9 million new births in 2023, the lowest since the CCP established its regime in 1949. It's even lower than the new birth during the Great Famine. So between 1959 and 1991, China experienced a massive famine that resulted in the starvation death of at least 36 million people, leading to a precipitous decline in birth numbers. And during these 3 years, the annual births in China were 16.35 million, 14 million, and 9.49 million, respectively. So in other words, the number of births in 2023 was even lower than the lowest birth rate that China ever had under the CCP in 1961 during the Great Famine. And it's worth noting that China's population in 1961 was only 660 million. And the official population in 2023 is supposedly 1.4 billion. So how was it possible that the Chinese had more babies during the Great Famine when its population was less than half of what it has now? Right? Also in 2018, a topic concerning China's population went viral on Russian social media and online platforms. Russians were discussing that China's actual population may be only 800 million, half of the nearly 1.5 billion official number, or even 1/3 of that at 500 million. A Russian website called Peekaboo, P-I-K-A-B-U, Peekaboo, published an article titled "China is Deceiving with Population Data," which a Russian expert by the name of Viktor Mekov, M-E-K-H-O-V, who stated that research on China's grain production and import-export data led to the shocking conclusion, which is that China's population could not possibly be the nearly 1.5 billion. He noted that in 1945, during the nationalists' rule, China's population was 490 million. After the Communist Party implemented the Great Leap Forward, in 1945, that was the beginning of the Civil War, right? So before the Civil War, China had a population of 490 million. So I think a significant percentage of men or young men were lost during the Civil War. So by the time the CCP established the PRC, China's population could not be more than 400 million. But let's say it's 490 million by the time CCP established the PRC. Then immediately after that, China experienced the Great Leap Forward movement, which resulted in the Great Famine, and then the Cultural Revolution, which caused countless deaths and injuries, followed by the one-child policy, 3 decades of one-child policy, which lasted from 1978 to 2015. So the Russian author asked, how could China's population surge to nearly 1.5 billion in the 3 decades? He found the claim to be implausible. And he also mentioned that during a 2017 seminar at Peking University, it was suggested that China's actual population was only 1.29 billion, which was 90 million less than the official figure at the time. So he said that by comparing China's grain import-export data with its population growth trends, it became clear to him that the actual population is far less than the official number. And it's likely 800 million or even 500 million. Other Russian media reported that they added up the publicly available population data or figures of China's cities, and they came up with a total of only 280 million urban population. Right? They added up the total population of all of China's cities, and they came up with only 280 million. And based on the traditional urban-rural population ratio of 1:1, China's actual population should be around 500 million, right? Because 280, if you have 280 million in the urban area And if the urban-rural population ratio is 1-to-1, then you have around 500 million. Even let's say the rural population is higher, has a higher percentage than I mean, even though it's not 50-50, even though it's, let's say, 60-40, they argue that China's total population should not exceed 800 million. If you have 280 million urban population, then China's total population should not exceed 800 million. And that was in 2018. This whole debate or discussions took place in 2018, in early months of 2018. And on the Russian website, OK.ru, videos of online commentators suggested that China has long realized that the deterrent power of a massive population outweighs that of guns and cannons. So deliberately exaggerating its population carries strategic significance for the CCP. The above story was reported by Radio Free Asia in January 2018. You could still find it on the internet. And Japanese scholar using China's salt consumption also was able to estimate that China's population was 800 million and not 1.4 billion. So as far as China's real population, you and I can only estimate and give our best effort to quantify. But I think the real population must be terrifying to the CCP, or else the menstruation police wouldn't appear. I also took a look at the micro level, not macro level, micro level. So in one county of Gansu province, it was actually the largest county by geographical area in Gansu. It's called Subei County. It made national headlines this year when the county only had, on average, 5 newborns every month. The county has a population of 12,000 people, but on average, it has less than 5 newborns every month. So that makes them, the total newborns in the county to be under 60. And they say it has to do with, population decline. So I went to Baidu and started looking at the population trend. What I found was that in the 1990s, the county's population was close to 15,000. And it went down to 11,800 in 2023. So there's a 22% decline. And in the media reports, they say that the county's population normally is around 15,000, and now it's a little under 12,000. And then they had this 15,000 population as far back as in the 1990s. So what this tells us is that in one county, total population didn't grow since the 1990s, but instead it shrunk by 22%. So that suggests that China's total population, probably didn't grow from the 1990s, because China's population was 1.1 billion in 1990. I don't think it ever grew to 1.4 billion. China started the one-child policy in 1978, and 15 to 20 years later, it started to see dramatic population decline, right? Which I think started in the late 1990s and early 2000s. So it never reached the 1.4 billion. Now with pandemic casualties, I stand by my claim that China's population is below 800 million. Judging by how desperate, I mean, that video I played, proved my point. You could see how desperate local officials are with the mandatory birth quota that they were assigned. I mean, it's everything's done in a covert manner. So, I mean, on the surface, you don't see them talking about it, but that video proves how desperate the central government is and how much they have pushed the birth mandate down to the local levels, and how the local officials are pushing it onto the young people. So one day when the truth reveals itself, I hope you remember today's session with Lei, when we discuss that China's population is no more than 800 million. So that's all I have for you for tonight. Let me answer any questions you have. But the first question I want to answer is the question about the drones, because people have asked me if I have seen anything from the Chinese who have, if the Chinese have commented anything about the drones that we've seen in the US. Well, actually, what I want to tell you is that they have not. But it reminds me of similar drone occurrences in China back in the summer and also in September of this year. I played you a video in which you see rows of bright, shining, flying objects, flew across the sky. And people were shocked to see what they were. And these mysterious flying objects were so intrusive that the Tianjin airport closed for 2 nights. And I did talk about that in my live stream. I think it was in October or maybe late September. And I know some of you said it's drones, but we know the Chinese knew it was not. They were not drones, because in a communist country, in a country such as China, where the government controls everything, who has the audacity to play, a large scale of drones near the airport at night, on consecutive nights? It's unthinkable. Nobody would dare to do that. So Chinese people at the time said that they were not drones. They said that they were extraterrestrial flying objects. So, and I think they had a point, because it's impossible that some Chinese were flying drones. And with that knowledge, I think that the flying objects that we've seen here in the US are extraterrestrial flying objects. And I think our governments are telling us correctly. They have said that they're not from foreign countries. They're actually objects driven by, they're saying driven by man, but they're obviously not necessarily men in our dimension, but they're driven, they're driven by beings, right? And the government said that they don't know where they come from. I think they're telling the truth, because they don't come from our dimension. They come from other dimensions. So that's what I will say. I don't think they come from this dimension. All right, so let's see. That's all I will say. UFOs, not drones. Yes, they are UFOs, not drones. So what does that mean, right? Maybe what does that mean? Or are they? Should we be concerned? I think unusual. We'll see more and more unusual circumstances take place in our world. Our world is definitely getting more and more interesting and to some extent out of control. What can we do, or should we be concerned? I think what defines us, I think our protection is morality, because what sets human beings apart from animals is that humans have morality. So I think our conscience and morality will protect us. So in the face of all these uncertainties and intrusions, I think hold on to your heart, or hold on to the conscience that you have in your heart. I think that's the most important thing. And that's what will protect us. Because all beings in the universe they all have to follow certain universal principles. And what sets human beings apart is our morality, and our faith in the divine. So that will ultimately protect us. So that's all I will say. All right, let's see if people have questions for me. Did I entertain you with that video? All right, let's see. Oh, I have Michael Estrada. Last podcast was outstanding. You mean the one before this one on Thursday? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. A bachelor tax? Yeah, a bachelor tax is going to be levied on Chinese. I think that the Chinese government has already secretly, I think, banned abortion. I mean, I think you need to get some kind of a sign off before you could get an abortion in China now. That's what I heard. Okay. Questions? Shiny man. There's a report on Taiwan's newspaper that PLA plan is about to invade Taiwan before President Trump is inaugurated. Is this true from your knowledge? There are so many rumors flying in all directions. And I think I said, well, there are PLA officers who believe that an invasion, a military operations against Taiwan will ultimately paralyze Xi Jinping's power. So they are for a military operation, because during time of war, the military will be empowered because they are, they'll have control over weapons. So some PLA are in favor of a military operation, not because they're interested in unification, but they're interested in taking down Xi Jinping. And the Xi Jinping is aware of this. So that may give him the ultimate reason not to start a war. So now things getting so Xi Jinping punished his former defense minister for having an anti-war mentality, right? And now he just discovered that the PLA officers who are in favor of a military operation against Taiwan are even more dangerous, because they're using the war to take him down or take him out. So with all that said, is Xi Jinping likely to launch a war before Trump's inauguration? I highly doubt it, because he understands the risk. Brett, love you, Lei. Keep on educating us. For the love of all things, I'm messed up. Please. I want to answer this question. Someone asked me. It was actually a comment left in the comments. The person asked me to name one thing that I love about China, because he's under the impression that I'm very highly critical of China. So my answer to him, or anyone who thinks like him, is that I love everything about China. I love China, the Chinese people, Chinese culture, Chinese arts, Chinese landscape. The only thing that I do not like is the Chinese Communist Party. So that's my answer. Yeah. So I have many things to name that I love about China, but there's one thing that I definitely do not love, and that is the Chinese Communist Party. Everything else is good. Okay, that's my answer. Okay, Mark Pollard. If they have lied by tripling their population, they have committed the greatest government deception of all time. This will be the biggest lie. When the world discovered China's real population, it will be the biggest lie that the CCP has ever covered up. And I mean, we have to ask ourselves, how do we allow that to happen? to those people, I mean, I know my method is not perfect because I'm a YouTuber. I don't have a time to build a statistical model to prove my point. But there's a Chinese expression, you throw a brick to invite a jade. So I'm the brick. I throw a brick and you guys are the jade. So many of you are financial analysts or doing statistics. You should build a model to quantify, to see what China's real population is. There's just so many loopholes that don't make sense. I mean, the points the Russian brought up are very valid, right? When CCP started, they had a population of under 500 million. How could they triple Chinese population after decades, after movement of killing and one-child policy? How could they reach 1.5 billion? That's the question, which is very valid. And then they never had the fertility rate as high as India. India never had the one-child policy, and India has 1.4 billion now. So it just defies logic. And I think those of you who have the means and the capacity should build a model to prove that, All right. That's all. Question from Shiny Man. There's a report. Oh, I already answered that. I already answered that question. UFOs? UFOs? I think they're UFOs. Oh, I don't see any questions. I see many lively discussions, which are wonderful. Okay, Wilson Dizzard. I think a good source on this would be the U.S. Census Bureau Office of Foreign Demographic Statistics. Have you checked with them? No, I don't really have the time. I mean, I barely can finish all my research on I think those of you who are interested in digging this subject matter deeper should contact them, or and do this. And I think that's a wonderful idea. Mitch, does that include a male not born in China but in another country like Britain that goes out with a native Chinese girl in her country? What do you mean that does that? Oh, you mean having 5 children? So you're saying that if you're a British man who married a Chinese, are you liable? Are you held liable by China to produce 5 children? You probably are. If you ever return to China, they'll accuse you of, wasting the quota because you took a Chinese woman. And if she doesn't have 5 children, you'll be held liable. So that's your risk of returning to China. I don't know, but I think it's possible. Who knows, right? If you judging by, it depends on where she's from. If she's from Shanghai or Beijing, I think it's more civilized. But if she's from a small town in rural China, like the place in that video, then she might be accused of not doing the right thing for China. It's hilarious. Odd Dude says, can CCP try to lure Chinese diaspora or other Asians to come to China to get married and settle down? They can, but are they able to? I don't think so. Do we want to move to China to settle down and have more children there? No, absolutely not. Okay. Wilson Dizzard. Well, thank you, Wilson. James Gum, considering 100 childless days, how long do you think until pregnancy is also just done, aka the 100 child-filled days, 100 childless days? I don't understand what you mean by 100 childless days. I'm not getting the question. But on that note, because I've been watching videos and reading, comments by other experts, who, I mean, the question is, will CCP's new policy, will CCP's birth promo offices be successful in increasing the country's fertility rate or increasing the country's population? Most experts say that they will not be successful because unlike abortion, which happens, in a matter of an hour or even minutes, pregnancy takes 10 months, 9 months. So it's very difficult, right, to enforce that. So the experts are saying that it's very difficult. But I changed my mind after seeing that video. After watching that video, I think the CCP may be successful in rural China. I mean, think about it. If you're a young man, if you're being harassed like that, if they intimidate you and telling you that they're going to tear your house down if you don't produce children with any women or with that woman that they brought you, I mean, what are you going to do? So, I mean, that's just very dreadful to think. So, yeah, so I think the CCP may be successful to some extent because there will be people who just give up. I don't know, but it could also start a revolution. Who knows, right? T.S. Jasmine, is government money awarded to municipalities based on census numbers? If so, inflating population numbers will pay off. Yes. The central government's transfer payment to local governments are based on, part of that is based on local census, demographic data. So the local governments from all levels are interested in inflating their population because they could get more money from the central government. Okay. Okay, that seems to be all the questions I get. Galia, Jali, Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas to you, to everyone. Oh, here I have super stickers from Brian Cobb. Another excellent program. Without your videos, Americans would have no real information about China. Well, thank you, Brian. And thank you for the super sticker. And Jeff Ramos, Biden admin has been aggressive against China, chip blockade, and tariffs these last few years. If true, JD Trump will just continue. I think the U.S. government need to come up with more comprehensive approach to the Chinese aggression, because these piecemealing, these sanctions, I think sanctions are not effective. Take a look at the sanctions against the Russians. I mean, the Russian economy have survived for all these years during the war. So sanctions don't work. The Chinese will find all kinds of ways to bypass the sanctions. Didn't we just find out that Taiwan's TSMC, some Chinese company, bought TSMC's advanced chips for Huawei? I mean, the CCP will find all kinds of loopholes in America because this is a free society. Anyone can come here and do business, right? So they will take advantage of a free society here to their advantage. So these piecemealing sanctions here and there don't work. We need to have a more comprehensive top-down approach to the CCP. Do you celebrate Christmas? I do. I put up the lights, and I bought a Christmas decoration. But as far as what I'm going to do on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, I'm not quite sure yet. Christmas Eve is actually next Tuesday, so it's my live stream day. I'm still thinking about doing a program on that day. So yes and no. Dave Pitchford. If the girl in the CCTV video is attractive, is there a program for American men like me to volunteer impregnation services? I don't know. I can't tell if the girl in the CCTV is attractive. I would recommend you not do that because you'll get yourself into trouble. You probably won't, you'll get yourself into bigger troubles than you can imagine now. All right. But thank you for trying. All right, let's see. Mario Necula. Like, can you calculate the population of Chinese cities and towns and then total the numbers? That will be a good exercise to do. I was tempted to do that, but it would take, to be honest with you, it would take a lot of time for me. And I don't know if I want to do that, given that I will, because I need to take care of my my YouTube channel and my livelihood. I need to make sure I earn enough revenue from my YouTube channel. So I need to cover enough topics, right, that people are interested in. If I just keep talking about population, I don't think everyone is interested in that. All right, let's see. Norbert Klotz, who really benefits from the wrong higher number? The CCP? Why? Well, of course the CCP would benefit from the higher number because someone commented that the CCP always waits until India released its numbers to announce the Chinese population, even though they're estimates, because the CCP wants to retain the status of being the most populous country in the world, because the CCP has always used its consumer market as the carrot, to attract foreign investments. So if the world finds out that the Chinese population is half of what it is, immediately, China will lose the appeal to foreign investments, to foreign investors. So it is extremely important to the CCP to keep boasting its population. Okay. All right. Okay, James explained 百日无孩, a mass forced abortion and sterilization when local government was told there were no kids born. So if CCP goes that far, will they just forced pregnant? Oh, I see. Yeah, they are forcing pregnant, but it's not so easy to force pregnant. So, I don't know. I don't think the Chinese people are ready for that. Even though, I mean, how many people will yield under that kind of pressure that the young man was subject to, right? How many people will give up to say, okay, whatever, you want children? I don't think so, right? Because they said you have to pay for everything. I mean, I don't think the young man is willing to pay for 5 children. China is the country that's the most expensive in bringing up children. I think the cost is higher even than Germany. Yeah, China ranks number 1 in the world in terms of the total cost in raising a child. So it's the most expensive in the world. Anyways, I can't decide for people. I don't know how people would react. Okay. A vegan T-Rex, do you think trying to force people to have more kids will have the opposite outcome? China made a lot of money adopting baby girls overseas. They stopped that program. China stopped the adoption program because they want to keep their children. I think the program won't work. All right, that seems to be all. Oh, here's one. As above, so below. Thank you. Thank you for the super sticker. Oh, here's Mark Irvin. Well, thank you for your super sticker. Thank you. 老外 Bill. CCP uses its status as a developing country to get benefits from international countries. That's why the population number are high. Probably true. Somebody asked me, please forgive my ignorance. I'm new here. If I'm here, what's your background? What's my background? I studied liberal arts in this country. I was born and raised in China. I worked for financial institutions as a financial analyst. And I had been in public relations and publicity. And now I'm doing this this is my full-time job. And my passion is cross-cultural communication. Actually, I did many years of cross-cultural communication because I'm always fascinated by the fact that how the Chinese and the Americans misunderstand each other. When one says one thing, the other takes it the other way. And it's a lifelong passion for me. I'm still making that mistake. I'm sure I've said things that have made people confused, or it's not what I actually meant, but people took it the wrong way. I continuously make that mistake in my professional life and in my personal life. But life is a journey. It's a lifelong learning process. Okay. JMW Seattle. Well, thank you. All right. I have recognized all the people who gave me super stickers. I thank you very much. That's all. Thank you. And I will see you on Christmas Eve, I hope. All right. Stay well. Enjoy the holiday weekend. See you in a few days. Bye-bye.